China has a third of the world's total manufacturing capacity. Exports account for approximately 20% of Chinese GDP. In 2021, Chinese exports soared by 30% as the rest of the world battled COVID and relied on the world's factory for producing goods. But 2 years into the pandemic, Chinese exports are now facing severe challenges, and these challenges will in turn impact the worldwide supply chain and drive up costs. Hi everyone, I'm Lei. Welcome to my show. Welcome to Lei's Real Talk. Thank you for giving me the input on topics. Based on the community poll, the Chinese economy and society are the most requested topic. I'll be making a series of videos on that. We'll start with China's exports because it directly impacts the supply chain and our inflation. There are 3 factors that are negatively impacting China's exports in 2022. As of March 14th, a COVID resurgence has spread to 28 out of 31 Chinese provinces. Mega cities that are economic centers such as Shanghai and Shenzhen are hard hit. China's zero-tolerance policy that includes banning travel and locking down neighborhoods, offices, and industrial facilities hurts manufacturing and exports. COVID resurgence in Shenzhen, a major manufacturing and technology center where Chinese tech giant Huawei and automaker BYD are headquartered, will impact China's exports. The shutdown of 30-plus IT manufacturing companies in Shenzhen will affect supply chain of tech products such as circuit boards and touchscreens. At least 7 or 8 suppliers for Apple have been affected, including Foxconn, the largest private employer in China and manufacturer for Apple. Foxconn employees in Shenzhen are locked down in their dorms. Here is a video of a Foxconn employee talking about his experience.
大家好，我现在深圳郭兰富士康上班，这里是郭兰富士康的员工宿舍。我们已经放了5天假了，这5天都不能出去啊，每天都待在宿舍里啊。在这个宿舍里啊，哪都不能去。宿舍外面有大门守着，有保安守着，只能在楼下点外卖，吃饭点外卖啊。 如果没有紧急的情况下，他是不会放你出去的。
45 miles away from Shenzhen is Dongguan, another central manufacturing hub for shoes, toys, and electronics. The city went on a 7-day closure. Dalang, a major manufacturing base for garments, has been shut down since last December. If you're buying something online, it's most likely made in this part of China. Roughly half of China's online retail exporters are based in the Shenzhen Dongguan region. Here's a business owner who has an online retail business in the region, giving his outlook.
现在在东莞，现在是被封城的第18天，在第18天的时候，现在整个东莞也暂停了啊，现在深圳也停摆了。 现在我们今天就来聊一下，在这种封城的这个情况下，小微企业还能撑多久啊？所以老杨，我做电商呢，我觉得我撑不了多久，3到4个月算了不起了啊。我旁边有一个企业啊，它算是松山服的吧。现在它70%的这个员工是住在大朗，他已经受不了了这家企业的这个负责人也跟我聊了一下，他说他整个公司现在有600号人左右，600号人有470多号人在大朗，基本上就这么样的一个企业，因为现金流其实是非常有限的，就基本上他说就完犊子了啊！我们这种防控措施之下疫情如果是这样反复的这种情况下，多少小微企业要倒掉？我觉得在我们这个地界就真的很多，这个数量到恐怖吓人的这个地步。
Local business owners in Dalang circulated a petition. It asked the local government to relieve rent and allow transportation as the business owners face tremendous financial pressure because of delayed shipments of goods. cancellation of orders, and ongoing payroll for workers during the lockdown. Business owners in Dongguan have attempted starting the same petition, but were ordered by police to stay out of trouble. The economic loss of 1 week lockdown in Shenzhen city alone was estimated at 60 billion renminbi by a Chinese scholar. He said the city found 643 COVID cases during the week, and therefore the cost per COVID case is about 100 million yuan or $15 million. For 33 years, Guangdong has been the province that contributed the most to China's GDP. Its 2021 GDP is 3 times that of Shanghai and accounted for roughly a quarter of China's total exports. Just the city of Dongguan alone contributes 1% of China's GDP. To strictly enforce the zero-tolerance COVID policy, cities near Shanghai closed some highway exits and required drivers coming off the highway to show negative COVID tests. Long lines of trucks stretched for miles. Lack of drivers and personnel disruption also caused congestion at Chinese ports. The number of ships waiting at some Chinese ports has already increased by 28.5%, according to Project 44, which monitors freight movement across the world. Yantian Port in Shenzhen, the world's 3rd largest port, has not been closed, but cargo handling operations are in limbo. Last year, Yantian Port was closed in the summer due to COVID, and the disruption was twice as severe as the Suez Canal ship jam in March. At the same time, delays in shipping schedules have caused a serious backlog of cargo. According to Bloomberg, there were about 72 ships lined up outside the port of Qingdao in Shandong province on March 14th, nearly twice as many as at the end of February. Due to the rising cost of maritime transport, China's Eurasia freight trains have become a fast-growing popular alternative during the pandemic. I made a video on that a few weeks ago. You can check it out. In 2017, the Eurasia China freight trains had 40 routes connecting China to Europe. Today, the number is nearly doubled to 78, reaching 180 cities in 23 European countries. The number of trips increased from 1,900 in 2016 to 14,000 in 2021. And the value of goods transported increased from $8 billion in 2016 to 75 billion in 2021. However, the Russian invasion and the sanctions would disrupt the Eurasian freight trains because almost half of these routes pass through Russia. For example, the new Eurasian land bridge is a 12,000-kilometer line that runs from Lianyungang, China to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. It passes through Kazakhstan, Russia, and Belarus. Russia's St. Petersburg has already become an important hub that mediates China-Germany trade flows. The war will seriously affect China's trade to Europe. Companies like DHL, Volvo, Olin Rosette may no longer be allowed or want to ship goods via Russia, which is now a sanctioned country. On March 16th, the U.S. Federal Reserve raised interest rates for the first time since 2018 to revive the U.S. economy while dealing with the worst inflation in 40 years. Further rate hikes are likely in the coming months. This announcement is bad news for the already struggling Chinese economy, particularly its exports. Chinese officials have been very vocal about this. In his speech at the World Economic Forum 2022 in Beijing on January 17th, Xi Jinping made a rare but straightforward request to the West. He called on Western central banks to not raise interest rates too quickly. If major economies put the brakes on the monetary policy or turn it around, serious negative spillovers will challenge global economic and financial stability, with developing countries bearing the brunt of the impact. At a press conference held on January 25th, Li Xingqian, head of foreign trade at China's Ministry of Commerce, said, "The rapid withdrawal of stimulus policies in some countries may trigger a contraction in demand and price fluctuations, which in turn will affect China's exports in certain industries." He said that China's foreign trade situation this year is dire, with unprecedented difficulties and pressure to stabilize growth. Experts say that U.S. rate hikes could negatively impact China's exports as higher interest will reduce U.S. demand. The U.S. rate hike could also cause a sudden capital flight and reduce China's ability to pay back its foreign debt at $2.7 trillion, which is also a big problem for Beijing. We'll talk about China's debt problems in a future video, hopefully soon. Here's the video on Eurasian freight trains and a Chinese scholar explaining why the Chinese economy is in trouble. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.